Hey, welcome to the garage. This is where I keep my 5,000 books. I'm not sure that that's much of an exaggeration. I think I have at least probably 3K books. That's the cool way to say it. 3K, not 3,000. I got a cool 3K books on hand. I think that that is roughly accurate. I've been accumulating and accumulating and accumulating vintage, mostly science fiction, mostly books. Every cardboard box that you see is books. This is not the only area that is full of books. There is a little zone over there. There's my closet upstairs that's full of books. There is the floor of my bedroom that is covered in banker's boxes of books. I have books. The light is fading. What I think I'm going to do is grab one of these, take it upstairs, and then we'll do like an unboxing haul thing, and I'll show you what I pulled out of that box down there that you can't see. There's a big Walmart box that I shot a whole haul video for, and I was wearing a button-up shirt with this mic angled straight into my chest hair that was scraping and grinding back and forth, and I just hit you again. I'm just learning now, year 5 of YouTube, to not tape my own sternum. So I'll show you what I pulled out for myself and then some other stuff. Actually, let's do this. I'll show you those and I'll show you what's in the banker's boxes because that's some of the good stuff. It's all kind of good stuff. Seems like an irrational thing to do, to buy this many books, but this is a big part of how I make my living. I resell books on Whatnot. There's a link in the description. If you sign up for a new account on Whatnot with a link, they give you 15 bucks free credit. It's good for anybody's auctions, not just mine, and you still have to pay for shipping, but it's media mail, so it's really cheap. It's a live auction platform, so I will auction painstakingly each and every one of these books that I don't keep for myself, starting at $3 each. Pretty good chance you'll be able to get a free book at some point in the near future because I'm going to be having tons and tons and tons of auctions. I'm not going to advertise every single one in a video. If you're interested, I'll see you there. If not, cut to the haul. We will begin with this. This is Alan Dean Foster's novelization of the John Carpenter movie. This is a rare book. Got it for 30 bucks. Gonna put it up, started at 3. Just like everything else, regardless of what I spent on it, it all starts at $3. I've never seen this for sale for less than $100. I got incredibly lucky, and a friend of mine just picked one up for me at a garage sale. She sent me a text with a photo of it, with the text saying, "I know you like sci-fi books. Are you interested in this that's in the free pile?" And I had been looking for a cheap copy of that for about 3 or 4 years at that point. So I already have mine. And this is the only other copy I've ever actually come across in person. Another rare book. I have to actually decide if I want to sell this or not. It's a first edition, first print hardcover of 1984 by Orwell. Not in the best shape, missing its dust jacket. It's a book that I have mixed feelings about, but when am I going to run into one of these again? Also got it for 30 bucks. I should probably keep it, but we'll see. Stay tuned. Silverberg, Tower of Glass in a nice UK. I have tons and tons of UK editions, so those are going to be mixed in with all the American books as well. Nice vintage copy of Slaughterhouse-Five in a livery that I've not seen before. I Among the Blind by Robert Holdstock. I got this because the cover is sick. First Voyages. This is a collection of famous science fiction writers' first published stories, including a bunch of big names. Looks like a lot of the hard SF and space opera people. Includes Cordwainer Smith, PKD, Ballard, Aldous, Le Guin, Avram Davidson, Senna Henderson, Judith Merrill. A lot of people in there. Rite of Passage by Alexei Panshin. That's his most famous book. All the Traps of Earth and Other Stories by Simak. Great cover if slightly sun-faded, but really beautiful art. The Green Pearl by Jack Vance. Weapon Shops of Isher by Van Vogt. I'm going to move you so that you're less backlit. How's that? So that I'm less backlit. Your lighting is fine. You look great. Chamiel by Edward Pearson. This is supposed to be an underrated book. I got a copy of this that's got a weird demon guy on the front, but that's a really pretty edition as well. Best Science Fiction Stories of the Year, edited by Lester Del Rey. Every time I pick up these anthologies, it's because the lineups are stacked with important people. Let's see who's in here. Ellison, Vonda McIntyre, ADF, Harry Harrison, Lafferty, Brunner, Pohl and Kornbluth, Silverberg, Gordon Dixon, Cliff Simak. Cliff, my buddy Cliff. Stories for the Dead of Night. These are horror stories. I see Roald Dahl on there. Who else? Bradbury, Shirley Jackson, Saki for some reason. Second Avon fantasy reader. Robert E. Howard, C.L. Moore, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert Bloch, some other fools. Earth in Transit, Science Fiction and Contemporary Problems. Oh, these are ecological stories, including Poul Anderson, J.G. Ballard, Clark, PKD, Harry Harrison, Silverberg, and Donald Westlake. Stone God Awakens by Philip Jose Farmer. I decided to wait to read Farmer to find out that I don't like him until after I had spent probably, I don't know, a couple $100 on his books. They have cool covers. I haven't read them all. Some of them might be good. Those Gentle Voices by George Alec Effinger. 1981 Annual World's Best SF in DAW. John Varley, Howard Waldrip, Spinrad, George R.R. Martin, that's Night Flyers, the short story version that I'm sure is probably better. Michael Coney, Patron of the Arts by William Rossler, with a truly nutso cover. Tellsy Toy and Other Stories by Schmitz. This is a Wayne Barlow cover. I keep telling myself one day I'm going to collect these Barlow books because he's my favorite artist. That day is not today. Quest of the Three Worlds by Cordwainer Smith. This is a fix-up of, I think, 3 short stories, if I remember correctly. Worlds Without End by Clifford Simak. Never seen this one before. Short stories also. They Walked Like Men by Simak. Also my first time seeing this book. The Texts of Festival, A Crystal Fantasy Trip by Mick Farren. Crystal trips mean something very different in 2024. Mick Farren was a new waver and rock star. Here's another Barlow. Ooh, Tales of the Occult, edited by Jack C. and Barbara H. Wolfe. These are occult short stories from classic literature for the most part, I believe. Rudyard Kipling, Algernon Blackwood, Nathaniel Hawthorne, people like this. Best SF Stories from New Worlds 3, edited by Michael Moorcock. New Worlds, the very important New Wave magazine out of Britain that was pivotal in the New Wave. This includes Brian Aldiss, Langdon Jones, you don't see very much. Keith Roberts, James Salas, some other people that I don't recognize. This is one I may talk myself into keeping. A UK edition of this Barry Longyear book. What's the title? Manifest Destiny. Nice and floppy. I like floppy books. Very cool vintage edition of War of the Worlds. Another Barlow. It's funny, I don't even remember looking up that it's Barlow. That is his signature there. He just has such a distinct art style that I can spot him. Wilson Tucker's Year of the Quiet Sun. I believe this was nominated for a Nebula, may have won it. I'm not great with the awards. Here's this. It probably says in that splash up there. Winner of the John W. Campbell Memorial Award, so it was neither. Good job, Buckpilled. Here's a copy of A Feast Unknown by Philip Jose Farmer, a book that I will review soon on the channel. It is better than Strange Relations. I had very mixed feelings about it. Worm Ouroboros, a high fantasy that predates Lord of the Rings by E.R. Edison. This is an influence on Lord of the Rings, written in an archaic style. I just saw a thou flipping through the pages. That's high on the TBR list for fantasy. Protectorate by Mick Farren. Super cool cover. Always loved this cover. Camelot in Orbit. Don Mates cover art. The Explorers, C.M. Kornbluth. Still the reigning champ. My favorite short story writer in science fiction from the golden age. I think he just kind of mopped the floor with everybody. Certainly on par with someone like Bester in my mind. Tomorrow's Alternatives. This one I don't remember buying, and I'm looking at the names on the back, and this might be one that I keep. It includes Barry Malzberg, Simak, Gene Wolfe, Silverberg, Bailey, R.A. Lafferty, and some others. I'm probably going to hang on to that one. This Side of Infinity, edited by Terry Carr. Another anthology featuring Zelazny, Silverberg, R.A. Lafferty, James Schmitz, Brian Aldiss, and others. This is a rather unremarkable looking book. It is an anthology of famous genre artists' favorite fantasy stories. It's got a bunch of good stuff. Mazirian the Magician, chosen by Bobby Silvers, A Man of Taste. That's the first Dying Earth story. There's a Lafferty story, a Barbara Kingsolver story for some reason, another Jack Vance. There's one picked by Gene Wolfe, so a bunch of names in there. Blue World by Robert R. McCammon. For some reason, I've gotten very lucky and found a bunch of these vintage McCammon books, which you typically just don't find. They're pretty collectible. Horror generally is just not easily found out in the wild. The Reefs of Earth by Lafferty. I have been looking and looking and looking, or waiting and waiting and waiting, I should say. I could just buy a copy on eBay if I really wanted one, for a copy of this book, of any R.A. Lafferty book. Very rare. Up there with Joanna Russ in terms of authors that should be easier to find than they really are. I think I have another copy of this down in a cluster of boxes that I'm going to do a designated haul video for. It's 4 boxes of about 700 books that I got at a used bookstore on a layover just by blind, insane, random chance. That was probably my best ever haul from a single stop. So I'm going to do a whole video on that, I think. I'm not going to do all those boxes in videos. It would just take way too long and you would get burned out. But I think I have a copy of this in there, but I don't remember, so I'm going to hang on to this one for me and then maybe swap it out. And I really like picking up these Timescape editions with cool covers, even if I don't recognize the title or the author, which I don't here. I just really like the Timescapes. I've just, whatever, picked up a taste for them aesthetically. I think that they're very cool, and they tend to have great covers. Best of John W. Campbell. Fellowship of the Talisman by Clifford Simak, his fantasy novel, one of his fantasy novels. As the Curtain Falls by Robert Chilson. I've had a few copies of this. I have my own in storage. It's an obscure Dying Earth novel that's supposed to be pretty good. Curious about that. The Great oh yeah, these are for me. I forgot I didn't pull out titles that I was keeping out of this box yet. This is Grania Davis, The Great Perpendicular Path, and also Grania Davis's The Rainbow Annals. Not one, but 2 copies of A Voyage to Arcturus in similar editions. One of these I will keep, one of them I will sell. Probably this one with the adult fantasy logo I will keep for myself. Really celebrated book. A lot of people want me to read it, and I want to read it. Another obscure Timescape, obscure to me at least. This is probably another one for me. Red Moon and Black Mountain by Joy Chant, a famous fantasy novel, also in the Ballantine adult series, which I love just aesthetically. They're just such beautiful books. I'm not a huge fantasy reader, but I quickly developed a weakness for these adult fantasy editions. The Eyes of Heisenberg by Frank Herbert with a totally crazy cover. It does not say who the artist is, but very striking. The Heaven Makers by Frank Herbert. Also a really weird edition. Really cool looking, really aesthetically striking book. This has come up only a couple times on the channel, actually. I haven't found a copy of this in a long time. It's On Wheels by John Jakes, which is among the best covers in all of science fiction. Very nice Ace edition of City by Simak. This is by far my favorite Simak. Haven't read this in a long time, but I adore this book. And usually these are all beat to hell when you find them. The Worlds of Theodore Sturgeon with great cover art. Another cover that I've always loved. The Shores of Another Sea by Chad Oliver. Picked up for its cover art. The ape art. Born with the Dead, 3 novellas about the spirit of man by Silverberg. I had this same copy a long time ago, and then I don't remember if I sold it or I lost it, but I've wanted a copy of that since. So I think I'm going to hang on to that one. Actually, I just aesthetically like that one. This one's also mine. This is a UK Recalled to Life by Silverberg. The Continuous Catherine Mortonhoe in a UK. This is The Unsleeping Eye. This is the book that I've been hyping up a lot on the channel recently. That's the best cover that is available. IMO. I will sell it because I have the DAW. Tom o' Bedlam by Robert Silverberg. The Right Hand of Dextra by David J. Lake. In DAW with a great cover. And this is a great premise as well, a really weird premise. To the Purple Born. It's about people from Earth trying to replace all the native flora and fauna on an alien world that's all purple with green from Earth. Valley of the Flame by Henry Kuttner. Very important author, and aesthetically one of the better vintage aces. Starship by Brian Aldiss, alternate title, Nonstop. His other very famous book, along with Hot House. A great copy of Earthworks, also by Aldiss, with a really stunning cover. Don't know if you can hear the birds, but they're helping. The Sorcerer's Ship by Hannes Bach. Also a Ballantine adult fantasy. A Tale of Wonders by a Master Sorcerer. I don't know what I'll do with that one. Stanislav Fernandez cover for Arthur C. Clarke's Earthflight. I really like Fernandez. He's my second favorite Stanislav in science fiction. Such a distinct art style. Last in this box, then we'll go on to the next one. The Green Brain by Frank Herbert. So this is the box that I pulled out of stuff for myself from just one of those boxes downstairs. I'm going to be drowning in books. The ones that I just showed you are probably going to be the first ones that I auction off when I start doing auctions. And that is actually typical of the quality of stuff and the kind of stuff that I have been collecting. I would say probably at least 80% of it is all the little A format vintage paperbacks with just a smattering of trade paperbacks and a few hardcovers. And I'm going to separate those out into their own auction. So it's just going to be heaps and heaps and heaps of these vintage A formats. Here's a really nice copy of The World Menders by Lloyd Biggle Jr. I hung on to this one because I do find it from time to time, but usually not in that good of condition. Biggle's one of those people that I just haven't read, and he's in that gray area of, I think I've heard people say that he's good and underrated, but I'm not sure, and I have to take the leap myself, but I haven't done it yet. Concrete Island in a UK by J.G. Ballard. Tiger Tiger by Bester. This is the original title of Stars My Destination. I've not found this with this cover art before or with the title. It's in a penguin. The condition's not perfect. This is one I may end up selling. The Best of James Blish. I'll probably not sell this one. Any When by James Blish. I'm actually reading a Blish right now. I'm one chapter in and it's very good. All the Stars of Stage. That should be in this, would have been in this box if it was not sitting next to my reading chair. And I rolled it on a random pick. I'm back to doing some random picks because I have enough books on hand now for that to be fun. Cul-de-sac by Richard Cooper in a vintage Quartet UK edition. Another guy that I need to read, never have. Barrington J. Bailey's Soul of a Robot, also Quartet, vintage. Hanging on to it because Bailey is not very common to find, especially not in UK editions here. At the Seventh Level by Suzette Hayden Elgin. Someone who strikes me as being very underrated. I've not read her fiction, but interesting person. Thomas Dishes, 334, in a UK floppy edition. I'm definitely keeping that one. Dish is pretty scarce around here. Terminal Beach by J.G. Ballard. The Wind from Nowhere. This is the second or third edition of this that I own. I haven't read it. Monument in the New English Library UK edition by Biggle. The Still Small Voice of Trumpets by Biggle. This is one of my all-time favorite covers. I've seen this image floating around online, and I've always wanted a copy of it. I don't know anything about the book itself, but it's got a great title and a great cover. High Rise by Ballard. I have read this one. Don't have it in this edition, so I will keep that one. Don't Bite the Sun by Tanith Lee. I was excited to see this one. If I deliberately choose to read Tanith Lee, this is the one that I'm grabbing. An obscure Gene Wolfe book, Operation Aries. Stress Pattern by Neil Barrett Jr., a book that I've just seen so many times, and it has such a striking cover. Decided just to keep one. Josh Kirby cover. Drinking Sapphire Wine by Tanith Lee. I'm still just keeping any Tanith Lee that I find. I love Tanith Lee, especially in these old DAWs. Thomas M. Dish, Under Compulsion, in a UK edition. Michael Coney, Jaws That Bite, The Claws That Catch. Another book that I've seen a couple times, but it's always really beat up. All the Colors of Darkness by Lloyd Biggle Jr. I just kind of grabbed all the Biggles, all the Coneys, all the Coopers, all the Elgins, because if I read them and they're great, then I'll regret selling them. If I read them and they're not great, then I can still sell them on, so it just kind of makes sense to keep all of it. Demolished Man and Bester in this livery to match the other one. I may sell that as well, or I may keep this one and sell the other one that I have in there that's also cool and also vintage. Have to figure out which is cooler and vintage or Profundus by Richard Cooper. The Road to Corley by Richard Cooper. Great cover. Furthest, another Suzette Elgin. Gorgeous copy of The Crystal World by Ballard, a book that I don't really love, but I do love the cover. The Drought by Ballard. Millennium. Clone. White Fang Goes Dingo by Thomas Dish. This includes the short story by that title that was expanded into the novel The Puppies of Terra, that I thought was not the best Dish that I've read, but was really interesting, and I'll probably read this at some point because it includes other supplemental short stories. The Custodians, Richard Cooper. Baphomet's Meteor by Pierre Barbet, a book that I also have seen floating around online that I've never found a physical copy of. For me, here it is. No clue if it's a good book or not, but one of the best covers. Grand Wheel by Barrington J. Bailey in a UK. Twilight of Briareus by Richard Cooper. Really nice copy of Nonstop with my favorite cover art of any of the editions of Nonstop / Starship. I was gonna sell this and then I talked myself into keeping it, even though I know I have at least one copy in storage, possibly a couple. This is one I actually ordered online, specifically John Sladek's The Mueller-Fokker Effect. I read about this in that guide to science fiction, the Reader's Guide to Science Fiction, so I picked that one up. The Wonder War by Lawrence M. Janifer. Also read about Janifer in that book, and I had sold a copy of his Blood World before that I have in there also now. He's supposed to be a weird guy. Jean-Marc Gauron, Algorithm. Also saw this in that Reader's Guide, and it looked really great. Relatives by George Alec Effinger. This sounded nuts. And then we'll end with a crown jewel, Crash by Ballard. Love this bright orange paperback, UK, floppy. Pretty uncommon book. This might actually technically be properly rare, I'm not sure. I think that might be worth quite a bit. I shouldn't throw it, probably. But that is staying with me. Hope to see you on an auction. If not, then there will be at least one more of these big haul videos, possibly more than one. I do want to do the haul video for those 700 books because that's going to be an event, I think. Anyway, see you there or not. Thanks for watching either way. See you next time.